The Western Ghat runs along the western edge of the Deccan Plateau in India. It separates the plateau from a narrow coastal strip along the Arabian Sea. This beautiful, lush, evergreen forest is a part of Sahyadri mountain ranges in the Western Ghats. Monsoon is one of the most cherished seasons in India. It was the month of August. The rains brought the roar and rush of cascading waterfalls all over the rugged Sahyadri mountain range, and it was a sight to behold. The refreshing greenery all around in varied hues was soothing to the eye. The temperature had dipped due to the heavy rain showers. So much so that the trees seemed to have drawn a thick green blanket over themselves. All of nature was drenched to its core and chilled to its bones, but it was also refreshingly relaxed. And then dawned a beautiful morning. Monsoon just ended, giving a new lease of life to Mother Nature. She looked like a vision of breathtaking beauty and grace in her newly adorned attire of bright and colorful, wild, but beautifully bloomed saplings and flowers. The gurgling springs symbolize an epitome of freshness in the atmosphere all around. The rays of the early morning sun brought with it a pleasant feeling of warmth, beginning a rejuvenated new day. During the 3 months of the heavy downpour, life in the forest had come to a standstill. And like every other being in the forest, this inhabitant too was anxiously waiting for this very warm moment. So slender in its movements, so beautiful in its appearance, but not so easy to spot, as the color green helps him effortlessly camouflage with the surroundings. The vine snake. It looks more attractive as it has just shedded its skin. Wandering around, it found its way to an open space. The ground beneath was welcomingly warm. The tender rays of the sun provided him with a feeling of well-being. It was enjoying the relaxed moment when suddenly, the fact that we humans have built roads through forests for our convenience was definitely not known to this victim, who had just wandered onto the tar road. So, what do we call it? Well, just another death. The Sahyadri mountain ranges in the Western Ghats are unique in many ways. They are well known for the majestic mountains, which seem to reach for the sky, and the breathtakingly beautiful valleys. The forest is so dense that even the sun rays can hardly find their way to the ground. In this thick tree covers are found a variety of rare plants having medicinal values. Situated at a height of around 4,500 feet above sea level, a vast green plateau of about 250 square kilometers is Mahabaleshwar, one of the most popular and picturesque hill resorts in Maharashtra. A jewel in the crown of the majestic Sahyadri range. This magnificent hill resort is a paradise for the tourist and is a famous weekend getaway. Mahabaleshwar is blessed with breathtaking views of valleys that are full of evergreen forests and lush undergrowth. The lake in the resort offers a lovely picnic spot. This hill resort is well known for its geographic and historic importance. You can also find a variety of beautiful insects, animals, birds and mammals. One can really enjoy nature in its placid glory. With so much to offer, it's a small wonder that tourists make a beeline to this paradise. In the past few years, tourists have been flooding the roads of Mahabaleshwar, which in turn has generated tourism-related business. The famous points in this hill resort have motorable roads. Speeding vehicles have become a common feature here, and so have the number of snakes dying under these vehicles. Whenever the roads are made through forests, there is bound to be a division of the area. In Mahabaleshwar, there are 5 main roads to Pune, Satara, Mahad, Tapola and Kshetra Mahabaleshwar. This has created 5 sections in an area of around 250 square kilometers. The internal city roads built for the convenience of the tourists further divide these sections into subsections. Snakes, like many other living beings, are always on the move. And a big network of roads in the forest only means more avenue for these hapless creatures to be crushed on. It is these very roads running 100 kilometers on the plateau that prove to be a death trap for many small creatures, including snakes. Phase 1. Day 1 for the census of the snakes on the roads of Mahabaleshwar. The time was 8 in the morning. There was a nip in the air. The early morning sun was spreading its warmth. It was then that we spotted our first victim near the Machutar village, 6 kilometers down on the Mahabaleshwar-Satara road. A bamboo pit viper. Surely a fresh kill, as it was still bleeding. This species is one of the venomous species found in Maharashtra. What a gruesome sight. Having noted our observations, we move on to Kshetra Mahabaleshwar road. An array of colors and a wide variety of flowers greeted us. The mood was upbeat and the ambience refreshing. Just then, we spotted something on the road, another roadkill, the slender, harmless vine snake. An arboreal snake that rarely ventures out on the land. This species is, however, found on a very large scale on the roads of Mahabaleshwar, but of course, crushed to death. On the road to Panchkani, we found another snake of the same species. It had been dead for quite a while, but the battering of mortal remains was still on. Subhash, a resident of Mahabaleshwar, does not find anything unusual in this.
इथे पावसाळा असतो 3-3.5 महिने पावसाळा असतो आणि पाऊस उघडल्यानंतर तापी पडते त्यावेळी साप बाहेर येतात आणि काय रोडवर येतात ते गाडी खाली मरतात.
खरं साप हा असा प्राणी आहे की
The snake is a creature that doesn't like too much of disturbance. He prefers to keep away from places where there is too much of movement.
हालचाल आहे कुठली अशा ठिकाणाहून तो ॲक्च्युली दूर राहणंच तो जास्त प्रेफर करतो. आता हे जर का सत्य आहे,
If this is true, then it's a surprise that these snakes come onto the roads where there is so much of traffic. Why don't they keep away? There are so many vehicles, so much vibration, so much movement. Yet so many snakes are seen crossing roads so boldly.
A little ahead on the same road, we found another victim, not totally unexpected. It was a peculiar species of snake. It seemed like someone had chopped its tail at a particular angle, the shield tail. This harmless species remains underground for most of the year and feeds on earthworms. Shield tails are not found anywhere in the world except the Western Ghats, and the ones found in Mahabaleshwar are called Mahabaleshwari shield tails. These, unlike its other relatives, are comparatively slow in their movements, so in this blooming tourist season are crushed on a very large scale on the roads of Mahabaleshwar. In this census on roadkills, maximum number of snakes found were the shield tails. In the first phase of our study on the 3rd and the 4th of October, we found 31 dead snakes. This sure was a high number, and to say, the tourist season was still to begin.
महाबळेश्वर सारख्या ठिकाणी हिवाळ्यामध्ये असं लक्षात आलं की
In a hill station like Mahabaleshwar, we realized that snakes venture out to bask in the sun.
थंड रक्ताचा प्राणी
Snakes are cold-blooded creatures that have to depend upon the sun to maintain their body temperature. They come out of the thicket onto the roads that have become warm, especially in the mornings and the evenings. This is where they feel really comfortable, and I've seen plenty of them relaxing on the roads.
21st October 2003, the second phase of our study on roadkills. The tourist season had just begun. Our study demanded a very close observation from 8 in the morning to 6 in the evening on the 80-kilometer network of roads. We made notes of the types of species, length of the carcass, place of death, and many such details. After making the required notes, we would move the carcass off the road. In this way, after clearing the roads, we used to find fresh kills the next day. The first day itself, we found 32 dead snakes. The tourist season in Mahabaleshwar had surely begun. Night had fallen and it was very cold. Mahabaleshwar was wrapped in a thick blanket of fog. It was quiet all around and it was time for the nocturnals to get busy. At about 11 p.m. in the courtyard, a large centipede was crawling about. Its movements were fascinating even under the torchlight. In a dense bush not far away, a vine snake rested peacefully. To top it all, a wolf snake crept into our room in search of warmth. Unbelievable! We have actually found 2 living snakes. The night was adventurous and inspiring. The following morning, we released our guest from the night into its familiar surroundings. As the day progressed, our feel-good factor continued. We got to see another living snake. A checkered killback basking in the sun by the road. Obviously, it wasn't the right place for basking, so we whisked it away to safer surroundings. Just ahead, we spotted a vine snake crossing the road, and as a chance occurrence, it was fortunate to make it across unharmed. A rare feat indeed.
जास्तीत जास्त मृत्यू हे छोट्या
Most roadkills occur due to small cars.
मोठ्या
Heavy vehicles have an advantage. The driver is sitting at least 8 feet above the ground, and naturally he gets a better view of the road, and he can easily spot them from a distance. The small car drivers don't get this kind of an advantage. They are unable to spot this snake, and even if they do, at a speed of 60 to 70 kilometers an hour, the driver spots the snake at 20 to 25 meters, which takes only a second and a half to cover. It's impossible to avoid the snake. In fact, the driver merely realizes that he has run over something.
It is not only the snakes that are victims of roadkills. Other innocents like frogs, crabs, squirrels, centipedes, lizards and other animals and birds too are destined to meet similar fate. Often the carcasses are crushed beyond recognition due to repeated running over by vehicles. On 22nd October 2003, we found 20 crushed snakes. Among them, for the first time, we found a coral snake, a venomous variety. To conclude the second phase of our study on 23rd October, we found the death count had reached to 98 in a period of just 5 days. Tragically, among them were 60 extremely helpful species, the shield-tails. Surely, this was an alarming figure. The third phase of our study on roadkills was scheduled for the last week of October. Diwali vacations were on and the tourist season was in full swing. It was almost dusk. The tourists had gathered in large numbers to have a panoramic view of the sunset at Bombay Point. As night settled, the stream of vehicles leaving Bombay Point seemed to be never-ending. The marketplace was streaming with tourists, and all the lodges and hotels were booked to capacity. Almost every vehicle entering Mahabaleshwar paid the entrance tax to the hill station at the toll post. As of the information received today, the 3 toll posts estimated a count of 1,400 vehicles into Mahabaleshwar. Tomorrow, all the roads in Mahabaleshwar will be full of these tourist vehicles, and the story of the roadkills will continue. The sky was overcast at night, with lightning cracking over the west towards Pratapgarh. There was a slight drizzle too. Even the following morning, the sky refused to open up. Then, around 10 a.m., the downpour started and continued for almost 2 hours. Once the rains let up, we carried on our survey at 3 p.m. Over the next 72 hours, we found 74 dead snakes. So many victims for no reason, all due to the heavy tourist traffic through the forest. By the end of the month of October, in a period of just 8 days, we recorded 172 snake deaths on Mahabaleshwar roads.
त्यांची संख्या अजून वर्षभरामध्ये किती असू
I have traveled thousands of kilometers in the Western Ghats to take stock of the number of roadkills that take place around the year. Statistical analysis leads us to a figure that is very scary. In 1 year, in Maharashtra alone, snakes crushed to death by vehicles on tar roads is more than 600,000.
This is a very common sight in most of the tourist places in the Western Ghats of India. But yes, there are some exceptions. For example, a hill station like Mathiran. Wildlife here is much more fortunate as there are no tar roads and vehicular traffic is banned on the internal town roads, thus saving these innocents from the misery of such gruesome death. Although traditional fear and the misconception about snakes does result in some kills by the locals, but then that's a different story.
पावसाळ्यामध्ये चेकर्ड किलबॅक ज्याला म्हणतात म्हणजे दिवड.
In the monsoons, plenty of checkered killbacks are seen killed on the roads.
दिवड हे
Why do they come out in the rains in such large numbers? We were able to capture this rare sight in the Konkan region. At 2:30 in the night, in heavy rains, we saw this checkered killback coming onto the road to devour this frog run over by a car.
मेलेले बेडूक खायला येतोय असे शॉट्स मिळाले.
And yes, there's this other one who joined him, sniffing around to have his share.
पण दिवड हे डेफिनेटली स्कॅव्हेंजिंग करतात. हे या
Scavenging is not a trait of snakes, but the checkered killbacks do come onto the roads for easy food and become easy victims of passing cars.
The natural beauty of the Western Ghats draws a bigger crowd with every passing season. Newer places are being declared as tourist spots, and with this, the tourism industry is burgeoning. Tourism today has emerged as one of the fastest growing industries in the world. Local populace depend on tourism for their regular income. Though this is a great help to the economy of our country, this has a counter effect on wildlife and their natural habitat. Our priority should be saving what is remaining of the fast depleting natural reserves. Yet, we tend to overlook it in the fervor of our small pleasures and monetary benefits. The snake, which is an important link in the food cycle, wanders onto man-made tar roads through the forest in search of warmth, food, or maybe a mate, only to become an easy victim. In just about 8 days, 172 snakes of 12 different species were crushed to death under the speeding vehicles in a beautiful paradise called Mahabaleshwar, and this is an existing fact. Tourists come to find some relaxing time away from the mundane metro life. The people in the tourism industry have their hands full catering to the needs of the tourist. Everyone is preoccupied and no one seems to have the time or the conscience to give a thought to this disaster that takes place all the time in an area of just 250 square kilometers in the Western Ghats.
प्रश्न असा आहे की त्यांना वाचवायचं कसं? कुठलंही
The question is how to save them.
रिसर्च करून
Solutions through research are still a long way,
त्याच्यातून
but primary importance has to be given to public awareness.
याच्यामध्ये सगळ्यात महत्त्वाचा फॅक्टर पहिल्यांदा येतो तो म्हणजे अवेअरनेस. मी
While traveling thousands of kilometers, I myself have saved over 150 snakes that were alive on the roads.
कमीत कमी 150 साफेर असतात ना मी बाजूला गेले जे जिवंत होते.
If you keep your eyes open on the roads, snakes can be spotted.
The Indian tourism industry is just waking up to the market challenges. New tourist spots are being declared each day. However, this tremendous growth and pressure is telling on the natural resources and the wildlife. What is their future? Can you tell? Are these hapless creatures doomed to exist or rather perish in this cruel manner?